Hi folks, I'm B. Pagels Minor. I'm a product and culture strategist supporting Fortune 100 companies, startups, and everyone in between. I'm also co-host of the podcast, The Drops Podcast, activist, and true tried Southerner. Welcome to my page. I want to talk a little bit about my new firm. So it's called DVRGNT Ventures. So first and foremost, who decides to create a venture firm? Apparently crazy people. The Mavericks. Maybe Steve Jobs and I, we would hang out if he was still around. I really have to start off with why it's called DVRGNT Ventures. Now there's so many different reasons why it might apply to me. You know, I am a black, trans, non-binary, lesbian who's from Mississippi, who has never done anything that anyone else has done consistently. I've always decided to do things my own way. But perhaps that's why I should start with what that mentality even came from. So when I was in middle school, so like 6th grade, I remember being introduced to poetry. And there was all these different poems, you know, Maya Angelou, you know, Phenomenal Woman, all these different things that like really have stuck with me. But none more so than a poem by Robert Frost called The Road Not Taken. And so it starts with, you know, two roads diverge in a yellow wood. And, you know, he kind of goes on, and the two roads, there's one that's very clearly been walked upon, lots of people have gone there, and it, you know, presumably is the easier path, like, because you don't have to go through the undergrowth, you don't have to, you know, chop down any wood or chop down the grass, like, it is the path that other people have taken and made it clear that you can take it as well. But even then, I remember when my teacher was explaining this to me, I kept coming back to this last part of the poem. And it's what the narrator says that he does. He says, I took the one less traveled, and that has made all the difference. And I really felt like even then, even as like an 11 or 12-year-old, I knew that there was something very significant about that. I knew it was something very significant about being a trailblazer, right? And I don't mean that in terms of like being a trailblazer, like I thought I was going to be the next Oprah Winfrey, or I thought I was going to be the next Mae Jemison. I didn't think about it like that. I thought of it as like, you know, well maybe unlike many of my family members, I'm going to definitely go to college, you know. And not only am I going to go to college, I'm going to go to college far away so I can learn about the world. And so that's how I ended up going to Duke University when I first started at college. I took it as the idea of, you know, perhaps instead of going to college, I'll just study abroad, because most of the people in my family had never even gotten a passport, let alone actually taking a trip outside of the country. And so that's how I ended up at Oxford College, studying international law and being surrounded by students from virtually every continent except for Antarctica, being in a space where we had robust debates about everything from who should be elected. I might be aging myself a little bit because when I was in England, it was the 2004 election, so we were talking about Al Gore and whether Al Gore was going to win and types of things like that. But really, what it really comes down to was understanding that even then, I knew that I was different. And some people might say that I knew that I was different because, you know, I knew that I liked women, or that I knew that I didn't identify as male or female in a lot of the ways that most of the people around me did. But no, I thought it was different because of my curiosity. Like I always, even when I was a very small child, I was just super curious about everything. And I feel like that curiosity is what's kind of led my career. And at first I thought, well, I'm just gonna fulfill this curiosity by being a product strategist and product manager. And for a time that really was true, like having to seek out these different ways to really make it clear, you know, what our customer value, what our value was to our customers, how we were gonna generate business value for our business. I thought that was enough. But then, you know, I was just like, well, actually, I know I'm pretty good at this, and I can rinse and repeat it. You can take me into any industry, any business. I can do product strategy. I can find you your product market fit. I can make you your million or billion dollar product. I can do that. But what would it look like if I started applying all these things I learned and actually started imbuing that into other people and making them better product strategists? And so that's when I started my consulting firm, BPM Consulting, and I was just like, oh, this is really great. I get to like coach and educate and support businesses, making them better product folks. And so what then ended up happening is that I did a lot of that, I made a lot of money, and so I started angel investing, and then I started really getting into the weeds with companies, being their advisor, trying to help them do really great work. But what ended up happening is that, I had these great products, these great teams, and I couldn't match them up with great investors because a lot of times their, product wasn't as sexy. Like, they're targeting a multi-billion-dollar product space, but it's not as adventurous as going to Mars, which nothing against that. We do need to figure out if we can go to Mars. I'm totally down with that, no question. But they also happen to not be locked into the same ecosystem where all the VC and all the money was. And there's a few different reasons for that. One might be because of location, right? I'm originally from Mississippi. I'm a proud Mississippian. When I go home, I'm impressed every single time by all the new innovation, all the new ways that these young professionals, for instance, who during COVID have started to come back to their hometowns, especially like Memphis, Tennessee, or South Haven, Mississippi, and they're innovating. And then when I started doing more research into this, I was just like, wait, this isn't just a Memphis thing. This isn't just a South Haven thing. It actually is happening all over the country. So all of us folks who had left our hometowns to come to the Silicon Valley, the LA, the New York, the Austin, the Denver, Colorado, we had started going back to our hometowns because of COVID, because remote work actually allowed us to continue to make the type of money that we've been making while also coming back to our hometowns where we can actually make a difference. Because let's face it, when you are in these large cities, sometimes you just feel like just a minnow who is swimming upstream and you're not winning. It was really great being able to go back to those Memphis, Tennessee's, or Lincoln, Nebraska, or Milwaukee, Wisconsin, or Santa Fe, New Mexico, and take everything that you've learned. So decades for some folks of experience building amazing products and building it in an ecosystem that is completely ready for it. And so what do I mean by that? I mean that in Jackson, Mississippi, they're actually incentivizing people to move to Jackson, Mississippi and opening up businesses by giving them huge tax rebates. And so what ends up happening is that you start looking at these like in-between cities who are doing a much better job of figuring out how to support innovation than even cities like San Francisco. And so for me, one of the most important things I thought about when I was creating my fund and my firm is not simply, who is the founder, because that is important. Like, I need to have people who have the willpower and desire and the fortitude and the humility to lead an organization to success. And it doesn't really necessarily matter to me for instance, which vertical, because vertical doesn't really matter. There's so many different types of problems that need to be solved. But what really does matter is having an ecosystem around you that is supportive of it. And so if you're looking at places like Lincoln, Nebraska, which has, not only the University of Nebraska, which has a bunch of incubators they put in place, but a bunch of leaders who've come back to Lincoln, Nebraska to support them through InMotion and Inside, Outside Summit and other things like that, it becomes clear that there's more opportunity in places like that, especially if you're an early investor, than there are in many of these other cities. And most importantly, one of the reasons that I thought it was important to create Divergent was also because of the simple fact that even though I have amazing relationships with, Alumni Ventures or Angels or Start Out or so many other organizations, most of those don't lead rounds, right? Because, a lot of the current investor syndicates and things like that, what they're really looking for is the opportunity to join in on investments that are being led by the Sequoias and the A16Zs and the Kosher and all these other types of places. But the simple fact is that if we really want to engender innovation, many of us are going to have to step up and lead them ourselves. And so that's another part of my fund that I'm so excited about, is giving me the opportunity to lead around, tell a founder that I not only believe in you, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, I'm going to put my talent where my money is, wrap my whole ecosystem around you and help you be successful, help you quickly get to product market fit, and help you have an amazing exit. And that's also a slight difference between Divergent and other places. I fundamentally don't believe that IPOs are where the majority of exits are going to happen over the next decade. I actually think they're going to be mergers and acquisitions. It's going to be the Apples and the Googles and the ByteDance, and all those companies are going to be the companies that are going to be acquiring the next generation of innovative companies. I don't think there's going to be IPOs. And one of the great things about that is by helping founders understand that they're going to have many different paths to exit, that's another one of those strategies around helping to de-risk my investors, de-risk the fund, and really help us understand that you can do VC differently. You can be community oriented, you can be very diligent, you can really check all the boxes, be very careful while still creating an impact that is exponential, both in terms of communities that you're supporting and in terms of returns that you can return to your investors. And so that's why I'm happy about Divergent. I am not ready to take the well-worn path. In fact, I think my wife would probably say if that ever happened in life, she'd probably wonder if a pod person had taken me. So there won't be any pod people in my household. I'm so excited to continue to show the world that you can do things differently and that you can take the road less traveled by and you can make a difference in the world. Hi folks, if you like what you heard today, feel free to like, subscribe, or click the notification bell and you get my content every single solitary day.